so fit now. Literally. Wait, let's see what is.
Ambulance emergency. Is the patient conscious and breathing?
Yes, he is, but he's been stabbed.
Okay, so he's been stabbed?
Yeah, in the back. He's actually got a chest wound.
Is he bleeding very heavily?
Yes, he is.
How old is he?
He's a teenager.
And you say he's bleeding from his mouth?
He's bleeding from his mouth now, and I think he's actually going to go into cardiac arrest.
So what we need to do is start on chest compressions. So we need to go at 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
13-year-old Olly Stephens strolls to a park in Reading to meet a girl on a Sunday afternoon. 13 minutes later, he'd be dead.
The door was banged really loudly, and I saw a boy there that I knew. He just said, Ollie's been stabbed.
I ran into the field, and as I came through the hedge, there was somebody doing CPR on him, so I knew it was bad.
Ollie had been stabbed in the chest. The depth that they penetrated, though, at the front we had 9 centimetres, and at the back it went in 17 centimetres into Ollie's chest.
He punctured both lungs, and I was like begging him, don't leave me, Ollie. And but the moment I held his hand, I knew he was gone.
A boy has died in violent and distressing circumstances, and his family and friends have been devastated by his loss.
Ollie was just 13 years old. His parents were among the first on the scene after the stabbing.
We're thinking, why? Who would do this to Ollie? Why has this happened? We needed to know it, because he was ours.
2 boys were waiting in these fields, one with a knife ready to stab him over an argument which had played out on social media.
They were able to abuse, plot and murder my son. It's just pure evil.
Social media is at the heart of what killed Ollie. Without it, he would still be alive.
The investigation into this murder by Thames Valley's Major Crime Unit has been described as fast-paced. Detectives are out knocking on doors, collecting as much information and potential video footage as possible to try to work out who is responsible.
I needed answers. I needed to know who was responsible for taking my brother away. And I posted on my public story. I was overwhelmed with the response I got from people.
With loads of messages on a group chat, they were just blowing up my phone. There was a few of Ollie's friends in there as well. But I remember I screenshotted the messages.
I guess I was just in fight or flight mode where I was just like glued to my phone almost, going through all these messages and just trying to collect as much evidence as I could and get it sent off to the police.
This was a very unusual case from our perspective. We were taken aback by the amount of digital evidence. It was probably, from my experience as a senior investigating officer, an unprecedented investigation in that respect. What we did see, and obviously which was one of the challenges in the very early stages of the investigation, was an awful lot of speculation, a lot of rumour that was going out on social media.
We always have a debrief with the police commander on scene, and the discussions were around the fact that potentially Ollie knew the people who had done this.
Even though I was being sent a large volume of evidence and things, it felt like it wasn't enough.
She was glued to it, coming over to me and trying to show me what she was being sent. And you got this feeling of all the children trying as hard as they could to make sure that there was going to be justice for Ollie.
The same names kept coming up.
Jess,
Dan, and Jack.
The identity of the 13-year-old boy stabbed to death yesterday on the outskirts of Reading has been released. He was Oliver Stephens, known as Olly, who lived locally.
People were sending me pictures of Dan and Jack, but I didn't really know what to make of that because I didn't even know who they were, really. I'd never seen their faces. So I was just very confused and very angry.
I think Dan was a lot more alarming for me. I think the things I'd heard and things I'd seen, I was like, oh, I don't know, it just seemed a bit unhinged. I don't know if that's the right word.
I got a couple of videos about the two boys. Things were getting flown around with, whether the boys were involved or, what their involvement was.
I did know of Jack and Dan previously. I knew through Olly's friends, I knew through the conversations I'd had with Olly that they were on a mission to become gangsters.
Dark clothing, face coverings, balaclavas, hoods up, just portrayed this image of a wannabe gangster is the best way to describe it.
Teenagers aged 13 and 14 have been arrested after a 13-year-old boy was stabbed to death in Reading.
Jack handed himself in at a local police station. It was at this point that he admitted to manslaughter. Police then visited Jess's house and arrested her. Officers were able to speak to the younger boy, Dan, and later arrest him as well. When the police went through all of the devices and phones that they seized, they were really shocked by what they discovered. There were thousands of messages, videos and images that helped them to piece together their investigation.
What we've found in terms of how social media is being used to share images of weapons and violence, these virtual relationships, almost this virtual life, this online life, this second sort of identity.
Because I was going to set him up, innit? If he comes G, I promise you I'm poking a knack through his head.
They'd offered to buy him a drink, he'd left his bike outside, and they had left their e-scooter.
Olly comes out of the shop, his bike's gone, he's devastated. He was very upset, and I went in to chat with him, and then the phone rang, and it was this Jack on the phone saying, I'm your friend, I can get your bike back. You just have to bring me the money to a certain place. And I think in that split second, Olly realised that this could be dangerous, and he gave me the phone, and I just sort of said to him, you stay away from my child, and before I'd finished the sentence, he'd hung up and he was gone. My alarm bells were going off because it just didn't sound right at all, and I said, why do they want you to turn up to collect the bike? And he said, because they want to stab me as a punishment. That's the way it works. You're talking about 12-year-olds stabbing each other. Obviously, I just felt sick.
Hey, what? I'll go to college. I'll leave my yard in 10 minutes. Run a Sheffer with you.
Fam, this is to hated DZ1. I'm giving killing.
3 teenagers aged just 13 and 14, arrested in connection with the fatal stabbing of 13-year-old Olly Stephens, have all been charged with murder. They're expected to appear in Reading Crown Court in June.
I was always monitoring what Olly was doing on his phone from afar, really. If he was on his phone for a long time, I would walk in and say, what are you doing? This thing was on his phone. I said, what's that all about? And it was gone before, I could follow it up. I said, well, tell me what that's all about. And he just wouldn't go into it, wouldn't tell me.
Olly was part of the group with these two boys, Jack and Dan. There was a video of a young boy being patterned or humiliated.
You can just see him get slapped, and then you see him getting punched. And he's being told to say something. He has to apologise. What we know now is that Olly saw this video and that Jack and Dan posted laughing emojis. And Olly, of course, would be appalled.
Olly'd asked me a question which, when I look back, was probably the pivotal point. He said to me, if you knew somebody was being bullied, would you tell the family? And I said, well, if it was happening to your sister, would you want to know? And he said, yes, I would.
Olly knows who this boy's older brother is, so he sends it to him. But of course, with Jack and Dan, they're then furious with Olly, absolutely furious. He's a snake, he's a snitch, he's a grass.
Olly had known Jess for a while. She'd been in and out of our house. She wouldn't speak to us, she wouldn't look us in the eye, but, you know, Ollie spent time with her.
From what I knew of Jess, I think she was able to have a hold on people and she was able to manipulate those people around her very easily.
He'd always stand up for her. Even if I was saying something that was true, he'd always see the good parts in someone.
They'd had a falling out. Only time I've ever seen him angry. And that's when I really sort of put two and two together. She's not healthy for him, she's toxic. The only reason he walked to that field because he wanted to make things right. He wanted to patch it up with her. What we know now is that this was an opportunity for her to get back at Ollie, but also for the boys to get even. So it was a perfect storm, really.
Ollie texted me randomly yesterday and was like, "Oh, do you want some cigarettes?" And I was like, "Yeah, because Jack wants me to set him up. So Jack is going to go bang him and pattern him and shit. I'm so excited, you don't understand."
Jack and Dan met at Cemetery Junction in East Reading before they made their way to Bugs Bottom Park in Emmer Green. It's here that they met Jess, where they were to then go and approach Ollie at the top of Bugs Bottom Park.
Alarm bell should have rung because I looked down the road and usually Jess was dropped off by her mum, but her mum's car wasn't there. And I think I might have even said that to Ollie, and he said, "Oh, I'm meeting her in there," pointing to Bugs Bottom.
At the top of the hill, the boys, Jack and Dan, as well as Jess, ambushed Ollie. Ollie was able to kind of hold his own at that point. He was fighting back and got the upper hand in the fight. But then the younger boy pulled out his knife, and it was at that point in the ensuing seconds that Ollie was stabbed. The boys and Jess departed down the hill. A passerby had seen what had happened and called 999.
Ambulance emergency, the patient conscious and breathing.
Yes, he is, but he's been stabbed.
Okay, so he's been stabbed?
Yeah, in the back. He's actually got a chest wound.
Is he bleeding very heavily?
Yes, he is.
How old is he?
He's a teenager.
And you say he's bleeding from his mouth?
He's bleeding from his mouth now, and I think he's actually going to go into cardiac arrest.
There was a knock on the door, and then I heard Amanda scream, "What do you mean he's been stabbed?" So immediately I flew down the stairs.
And I was quickly just trying to put my trainers on as fast as I could.
Bearing in mind this is only 200 yards from our house, I ran into the field, and as I came through the hedge, I looked up at the field to where he was, and there was somebody doing CPR on him, but it was all the faces of the people, and you could just see the horror on their faces.
The incident came through on my pager. I travelled on emergency conditions to the location. So there was a lot of activity, a lot of police cars, lots of ambulances, many of them with blue lights on, so I knew it was a critical case. The body cam footage really takes you back to the scene. It gives the police a record of how things were when they arrived and exactly what people said.
Cardiac arrest.
Cardiac arrest.
They were with me as well when this all happened.
It's not very clear, but you can see the effort that the nurse was putting in. It's a distressing watch.
And I'm a cardiac nurse as well, which is why
Good, thank you.
So he's had some proper, complete chest compressions from me.
A lady came across and she introduced herself. She was the doctor, she was the surgeon who'd been flown in, and she just said, "I'm so sorry."
We were invited into the ambulance to say goodbye, but we couldn't go near him because you're contaminating the crime scene, and my son was the crime scene.
And I just said, "I'm so sorry, Ollie. I'm so sad that this has happened to you. I love you." We came out of the ambulance and the doors closed, and we just stood there and hugged each other.
Jess, Jack and Dan all tried to delete messages from their phones, from their social media apps after Ollie was stabbed. I think they probably thought they could maybe get away with this if police couldn't find their messages.
I just felt really angry, and I'd kind of pieced together that Jess had set him up because he was going to the field with the intention of seeing her. I just messaged her.
The trial begins today into the murder of Olly Stephens, the schoolboy from Reading who was stabbed to death in January. A 13-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy, who both can't be named because of their ages, appeared in court this morning, charged with murder and conspiracy to commit grievous bodily harm.
The jury here at Reading Crown Court were told by the prosecution today that the attack had been planned by the defendants in the days leading up to it and was motivated by perceived grievances with Olly.
Two boys, both now 14, were waiting in these fields, one with a knife ready to stab him over an argument which had played out on social media.
The evidence that was shown in court, a lot of it was videos that were obtained from both defendants' phones of them holding and playing with knives. There were voice messages which showed them bragging almost about what had happened.
It was me and my boy, innit? I started slapping him up and then my boy backed out and fucking shanked him. Hey, what? I'll go to college. I'll leave my yard in 10 minutes. Run a cheffer with you.
The older boy said to the younger boy, "Bring the knife." He said it. What happened was Jack fighting Ollie. He said himself Ollie was coming off better, and then that led to Dan stabbing him twice. The two of them at one point, one was fighting Ollie and the other was reaching over and stabbing him. They did it together. I think the jury were out for, I think that was going to be the 5th day when they actually came back right at the 11th hour and said that there was a decision.
Honestly, my legs just went to jelly. But we took our seats.
And when they said guilty,
it feels like the floor just gives way and the pit of your stomach just goes, and it just went quiet. And I had Ollie's rugby shirt with me, and I just buried my head in his rugby shirt for a minute because it was just such a powerful moment.
Jess received an initial sentence of 3 years and 2 months for manslaughter. However, this was then extended on appeal to 5 years in custody. The verdicts found Jack and Dan guilty of murder. Dan received a sentence of 13 years minimum. The older boy, Jack, received a minimum sentence of 12 years in custody.
I believe social media played its role in Olly's death. No, they didn't hold the knife, but they allowed these children to communicate, and we need to hold these companies accountable for the platforms with which they are enabling people to harm each other. We've been up to the House of Commons many times.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm
very sorry to hear about the case that the honourable gentleman raises. My thoughts are with Olly's family. He's absolutely right that we should do everything we can to tackle the scourge of knife crime.
They just want to help other parents recognise the dangers of social media and what's happened to Olly, and that it could happen to anyone.